right, welcome to the show. Glad that you are here. This is Chris, your host, with Protect Your Children Incorporated, protectfrompredators.org, and protectyourchildren.org are the websites, protectyourchildren.org and protectfrompredators.org. Glad you're here. We got a couple people watching right now. Hopefully a bunch more will join in a little bit. Got a different show tonight. Our co-director Marie, who's actually was going to be on the show with us tonight, but she's feeling a bit under the weather, so she is in the chat, Marie T. But she brought to my attention a documentary called Childhood 2.0, The Living Experiment. It was produced by Bark, which is a parental control company. They actually have a pretty good product. As you know, we've talked about MM Guardian before and AirDroid for Android phones. Bark is pretty good. We feel that MM Guardian has a little bit more flexibility on things like GPS location, browser histories, and all that kind of stuff, but Bark is pretty good as well. So in any case, they produced this documentary called Childhood 2.0, and we're going to watch that together tonight. And it's pretty shocking. Of course, I've watched it, and it's very, very sobering and very, very eye-opening. It's from a teenager's, perspective. There's a whole lot of teenagers in there talking about their experiences on social media, everything from the predators to the peer pressures to the pornography to all of that stuff. And it's very, very powerful and very eye-opening. So we're going to watch that together in a little bit tonight. It's about 50 minutes long. We're going to be interrupting with commentary, of course. And we hope that you are just shocked and sobered and just got your eyes opened, right? Because this social media stuff is a double-edged sword. It is a double-edged sword. And our kids are being sucked into this black hole of the abyss. And they don't really know what's happening. And this documentary, Childhood 2.0, does a very good job from a kid's perspective and from an expert's perspective on showing us exactly what the heck is happening. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to go ahead and jump into our hero segment tonight. All we have tonight is a hero segment for our teen heroes, and then we're going to jump into this documentary. And so let's go ahead and check out our teen heroes segment, and then we'll be right back in just a couple of minutes. Again, thanks for being here. Let's check this out.
A California teen performed a good deed by driving to a woman's house to return a lost purse.
There's hope for our younger generation.
Melina Marquez says a teenager rang her doorbell after he found the purse in a shopping cart at a grocery store. The driver's license inside belonged to her friend, Eliana Martin, who used to live with her but hadn't updated her address since moving out.
So my aunt heard the ring go off, and so she opened the door and received the purse. She was a little confused.
It was in the parking lot.
In the parking lot?
Yeah.
When Melina heard what happened, she was shocked.
So I asked my aunt, I said, did you get his name, or did you at least give him like $20? Excuse me. And she's like, no, I didn't know. And I was like, oh my God, we have to find him.
The women posted the doorbell video to social media, and lots of people in San Diego shared it. Eventually, 17-year-old Adrian Rodriguez reached out to identify himself as the Good Samaritan. When asked why he went out of his way to return the purse,
he answered, my mom's told me since I was little to always do the right thing, even when no one's watching. So that was nice. Also, he said, if I lost my stuff, I would want somebody to bring it back to me. So, two good reasons.
The women also had a surprise for him because many of their friends and family reached out wanting to reward him.
If you found him, I put 20. If you found him, I put 50.
Yeah.
So I told that Melina, okay, let's do GoFundMe.
The women set out to raise $1,000 for Adrian and have since surpassed $3,000, proving that some good deeds do come around.
He could have just taken whatever was in the purse, and he didn't. He brought it back, and I think this just speaks a lot about him.
For Inside Edition Digital, I'm Mara Montalbano.
Now that is a child who's being raised right. When they asked him, he said, hey, my mom always told me to do the right thing even when no one's watching. And that's exactly what he did. And that he was at a supermarket parking lot, and he literally drove he had to do some research work, actually, because the license in there was the license of somebody who used to stay at that house. So he does a little detective work, a little digging work, finds his way, makes sure he returns it with everything in it just the way it was, because it was the right thing to do. And it's teenagers like that that are making our future. And we're so happy to bring you the hero segment every week. These teens need to be protected. They have good hearts. Teenagers have plans. They have a purpose, and they have good hearts. But when they are abused and neglected and poorly treated, it can throw their whole life into a tizzy, and they can end up way off track, and they go through a lot more struggle than what they need to. So we want to protect them with everything that we can. That means education. That means awareness. That means being nosy. Got to be a little nosy, right? You have to kind of teach your kids, but be nosy as well, and help to keep them safe that way. So what a great kid, and we're so happy. And listen, he didn't expect to get anything back, right? He was just returning it because it was the right thing to do, and now he's got like $4,000. Like, people are awesome. Like, they love to see when people do good things, you know, and they reward them for it. So that's very awesome. Good for him. Adrian, his name is. Lisa Mans, welcome to the show. She's in the chat. Marie T is in the chat. The other Maria is joining the show in a little bit. She tells me from Facebook, and we got a bunch of other people on Twitter that are watching. And, you know, we still can't see Twitter comments, and I cannot figure out why. Our program swears to us that we can, but all you on Twitter, nothing but love. We love you out there on Twitter land. Rumble as well. A bunch of people watching on Rumble right now. We also cannot see your comments, which is very frustrating, but trust me, we'll look at them afterwards. So, all right. Let me jump in before we get into the Childhood 2.0 and let you know about, yes, our website. Our website, protectyourchildren.org, protectyourchildren.org. All education, awareness, everything is free. We do background checks. You can do zip code predator searches. We have here an in-depth protection packet, which is not your grandma and grandpa's one-liners, okay? This is in-depth protection from predators, community, and online. So you can download that for free right on your screen, or you can save it. You can share it. Just don't sell it. That's all we ask, right? Don't sell it, and don't try to alter it, because we will come after you. But in any case, yeah, the in-depth protection package is very important for helping to keep kids safe. It is child safe. Like, you can go over it with your kids. They need to understand the dangers that are out there and what those dangers look like, and what dangerous people look like, and what good people look like, right? They need to know this stuff. So the in-depth protection packet, tips on preventing kidnapping. There's a whole lot of stuff here. Online safety. All our live shows are right here on this tab in date order, so you can go back and listen to those on the podcast. As I mentioned, predator searches. We got how to set up parental controls on all the kids' devices and on their game systems, step-by-step instructions. Just tons of stuff at protectyourchildren.org. We also have on protectyourchildren.org merchandise. Yeah, we actually have some merchandise. Pretty cool, right? And we are fair and upfront about this. We make a couple of dollars on each item. That's all we make. We're not trying to get rich here. We're not trying to sell a million things. What we're trying to do is raise awareness. And when you buy our tote bags or our coffee mugs or our t-shirts or our hoodies, or, you know, hey, look at these awesome drink cups, you know, you're helping to support us. You're spreading awareness about our website and about our mission, about what we do to protect kids. You're helping to bring people to the live show. You're doing so much just by carrying around something that has our website and our logo on it. There's 20 products, 40 products. There's 50 products. There is tons of stuff here. Hoodies, everything you can imagine on our website, protectyourchildren.org. So check that out. Also, if you want to make a donation, we thank you. Last week, we received a small donation, and we're very thankful for that. That is going to go help to provide hosting for this month. So we're very thankful for that. One person did donate, and I believe they got their tax-deductible receipt in their email. So we're very thankful for the people who donate to help keep us live. All of this costs money, right? And nobody here takes a salary. This is all volunteer. So what does that mean? Anything that costs money is coming out of the director's pockets. right? And we cannot continue to do that or we'll go broke, right? We got bills to pay too. Y'all understand that out there. But live streaming actually costs money. The software costs money. Website hosting costs money. We send brochures, pamphlets out to people across the country, bumper magnets. This all costs money, and we can't do it without your help. So if you can make a tax-deductible donation today, we'd be greatly appreciative of that. All right. Let's see. Now we got all that good stuff out of the way. All right. Let's see what we got. Just checking the chats and stuff here. We got, let's see. We got Lisa. Have you been through ACE's training? It is really insightful. ACE stands for Adverse Childhood Events Experiences. Not offhand. No. Lisa, we're going to touch base. I did get your email, so we will touch base sometime this week. So look out for that. And maybe even hope to get you on the live show if you'd be open to that, but we can discuss that. Lisa does some good work and having to do with technology and help keep our kids safe and some other great stuff. So yeah, we'll get definitely in touch this week. So, all right, let's go ahead and jump into our documentary tonight. This is Childhood 2.0, brought to you by Bark Parental Controls. And it is really, like I said, it's really eye-opening. And I think that you're going to be really blessed from this. You're going to have a lot of education, a lot of awareness, and you're going to get to hear from real kids, right? Because parents, we know, right? Yeah, parents and guardians, we know what we believe about social media and the dangers that are out there, but what do kids actually think? Do they think it's as bad as we say it is? Do they understand when we want to put parental controls on their phones, or are they just begrudgingly going along with it because they have to? You know, are they careful? Are they falling prey to predators? Have they encountered predators online? Right? All that stuff these kids talk about in this documentary, Childhood 2.0. So let's go ahead and jump into that. And as I said, we'll be stopping and starting throughout, throughout the documentary here. And again, this is brought to you by Bark Parental Controls. So let's go ahead and jump into this.
How easy was pornography to come across?
Oh boy.
Yeah, oh boy.
Like, Mom, Dad, don't watch this.
I know.
I had a trunk and I had ways to hide it, and we have different methods of finding it.
We all congregated at this one guy's house because he had a VHS tape that had something on it that had been recorded from Cinemax. Hey, let's go up to your uncle, go to the bathroom up there. We take a Playboy in there, put him in our thing, run down the alley and look at it.
She brought out a few magazines. Quick, you can look real quick. Oh, somebody's coming. Look at this. And it was a Playboy magazine. And I was like, good night. What are they doing?
And we thought, this is our moment.
You had to be MacGyver to to get it, hold it, keep it.
But they had those sex hotlines that you could call.
Oh yeah, the 1-900.
They would like advertise it on the late night TV.
But this was, again, a plan, like a detailed plan that had to be enacted.
There was no other way to get access to this sort of thing.
In the 50s, we had pinup girls, Bridget Bardot, Marilyn Monroe, and 60s we had girly magazines, and then in the 80s we had VHS, and then there were chat rooms with webcams, and now we have cell phones in kids' hands.
All the physical barriers, be it physical location, right? Be it proximity, all those sorts of things, be it people, maybe they had access to it, right? None of those barriers exist anymore.
I mean, it's completely different now. I mean, it is like, it's all video, and it's all, watching XXX videos are a lot different than looking at a Playboy magazine.
The Australian study that found that about half of children ages 8 to 16 had exposure to pornography, and many of those were actively seeking it out.
27%, if you look at the unfiltered internet, 27% of all video content on the unfiltered internet is pornographic or explicit in some way. If I imagine every day growing up, there was a coffee table in my living room, and there were 4 magazines on that coffee table. One of them was pornographic, and 3 of them weren't. And my parents just hoped every day that I didn't look at the wrong one. That is what the unfiltered internet is for kids today. We have put little boxes of porn in their pockets, under the guise of safety, under the guise of overprotection, under the guise of I have to get in touch with my kid all the time, every day, 24/7. We have given them access to pornography that far exceeds anything that we ever were exposed to.
What about porn? Do guys all watch porn?
All right. I want to jump in here real quick. You know, he made an interesting point when it was just starting out on how this was like a plan all along, right? Each decade had its own form of grooming, if you will. Each form of desensitizing the kids, demoralizing the kids, getting stuff in front of the kids that they knew would get them hooked, knew that they'd want to look at, right? And so it was either the Playboy magazines, right? And then it was, like you said, there was pinup girls, and then there was, you know, the Marilyn Monroe, the sexy pictures, and then Hollywood increasingly started putting more stuff into the movies, and it was just very, very gradual, like the frog in the boiling water. We've all heard that analogy, right? You know, you put a frog in a pan of regular water, it'll just hang out there, and it's just, you know, taking a bath, and it's just chilling, right? And you slowly turn up that temperature ever so incrementally, and that frog will never jump out. That frog will boil to death before it realizes the danger that is happening right in its environment, right? And this is what they do. You know, they slowly bring the stuff out. And then when technology catches up to what these evil people want to do, like you said, the chat rooms come available, the webcams come available. We posted a video earlier this week about a new website, and it's also an app called Chat Roulette that's out there. You thought Omegle was bad. We talked about Omegle, and thank God they got shut down because they're ready to get sued out of oblivion. And rightfully so. But Chat Roulette came out, and Chat Roulette literally will match you with anybody around the world. Could even be someone close to you if you have your proximity on, right? And this website and this app actually shows people the IP address and the general location of that IP address of where they're connecting from. It's just super dangerous, right? And again, no age verification, no ID verification. Kids are on it, right? This is something that's happening around now. Guess who made it famous with the kids? TikTok. Okay, TikTok made it famous. And yeah, so Chat Roulette, make sure that's not anywhere near your kids' phones and stuff. So, all right, let's jump back in.
Okay, I didn't even realize that, but pretty much every guy has like an addiction to it, but no one talks about it. So say I'm like talking to them about it, and I'll be like, oh, like, does that guy do it too? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, that sweet innocent boy watches it too. Like everyone does.
Like everyone watches it.
How many guys and girls do you guys know that watch porn? I'd say all guys, pretty much.
I think I know one guy in my school. I think I've talked to one that I can confidently say hasn't, and nobody else.
You know, it's very prevalent, and like everybody knows it.
They watch porn for fun. They don't even watch it for any sexual release. They just watch it to watch it.
Do you think parents really have any clue of how significant of an issue pornography is in kids?
No, they're pretty clueless.
Yeah.
In 2019, porn sites received more traffic than Amazon, Twitter, and Netflix combined each month. 26% of adolescents aged 13 to 17 actively seek out pornography.
What's that? What percentage?
It is on every platform, even the platforms that parents think it's not on. Just for example, Twitter, which is one that most adults probably use. They probably know Twitter.
Snapchat is where explicit content on Pornhub lives just seconds away from every user through backdoors within the app. The app knowingly allows a well-documented list of porn performers to make thousands of dollars daily through their premium Snap accounts.
The people behind pornography know how to optimize their content for search terms.
Pornographers, any new technology that comes out, they immediately saturate it. They know about it before, as it's getting ready to come out, and they are ready with every strategy to saturate it.
What age did watching porn become common? I'd say 7th grade. Yeah, middle school.
9th and 10th grade, I remember guys being like, yeah, like I had an issue in 7th grade, and I'm like, I'm sorry, what?
What I say to parents is it's time for every parent on earth to leave the ignorance of the land of if and embrace the reality of when.
The film we'll see this morning will give the answers to these questions. It will also show the earliest phases of growth, as well as the changes that take place during childhood and adolescence.
So when my parents were addressing the birds and the bees with me, there was no conversation.
I walked out more confused after the conversation than when it started.
We don't talk about those things at all. No, sex. Wait.
It's absolutely normal to be curious about sexuality. It's normal to be interested.
Don't have sex, because you will get pregnant and die. Just don't do it, promise? Okay, everybody take some rubbers.
My dad had conversations with me when I was a teenage girl. Like, I asked him, and he was very blunt and just told me.
Do you think kids are using pornography as sex education?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I feel like they don't want to like talk to like a parent or like a guidance counselor or anything like that because it's awkward. Like, it's an awkward topic to talk about.
Like I said, I have 3 classes right now, and they all are going like over like sex ed type things, and it's really boring. So a lot of the times I just kind of like tune it out.
This is a tool for sex education for a lot of children. They are learning so many wrong things, not only about sex, but about relationships.
Guys, especially our age, like they just like watch porn to like be fulfilled in their own ways. So then they're just like if my girl can't do the same thing that these people are doing, like then something's off. I don't want to be compared to like a porn star. Like,
Analysis of the 50 most popular porn videos found that 88% contain physical violence and 49% contain verbal aggression, mostly against women.
There's like certain guys that I've hooked up with, and I'm like, this is really aggressive. Like, this is too much for me. And then I'm like, and it's just terrible. I'm like, this is so bad. Like, because I haven't had sex yet, like people, or like the guys will like ask, and I'm like, no, I don't want to do that with you. And they're like, are you kidding me? Like, they get so mad.
Guys get this image in their head.
And that's a great point, because what that pornography does, as most of you probably already know, is desensitizes, right? And that's one of the goals of predators, is to desensitize kids, to demoralize them, desensitize them, hypersexualize kids, and then the predators can attack them, right? And these girls talking about how like they're getting with these guys and they're expecting to do what they've been watching. You know, they're objectifying women. They think that they're just objects to use to feel good because that's what they've watched, okay? And like the guy said before, you know, this is the kind of stuff that having an unprotected internet, right, offers. So when kids are out there and, you know, they're going to be naturally curious, they know that they can look stuff up in a heartbeat if there's no parental controls on their phones, and they have the privacy to do so, which they can have very easily. Did you ever see your kid take their phone into the bathroom? I mean, what's the reason for that? I don't know. They go in there for 30 minutes with the door shut with no parental controls on their phones. Gee, I don't know. Anything could possibly happen in that situation, you know? And he mentioned about 88%. And we want to tell you that 88% of sexual predators have yet to be arrested. And this is the Bureau of Crime Stats that put this out over a long year study. And they figured out 88% have not been arrested. So just doing a background check is not good enough. We need to be active and alert and be nosy and be watching over our kids. You don't have to wrap them in bubble wrap and keep them locked in the house, but they need to be educated. They need to be aware of the dangers. Parents need to be aware of the dangers, be educated on the latest trends and these latest tricks and the latest traps that predators are using, right? And educate their kids, teach their kids what's out there so that they can at least have a fighting chance if they come across something like this. Unbelievable.
That's how intimacy goes, and that's how sex goes. And
There's definitely a bigger population of guys that feel that way now than there were even like 5 years ago.
The science is still emerging, but I just happen to live in the camp that when young people are exposed to large amounts of pornography, it shapes the way that they see other people. I happen to be somebody who at a very young age was exposed to pornography. I discovered a stack, of magazines when I was way too young. And that planted a lot of curiosities in me that I wasn't ready for, quite honestly. I didn't know what to do with that. And we could talk a long time about what that did to me later in life and what that did to distort just my views of sex and intimacy, even as a young adult and as a married man, even leading to an addiction of my own to pornography that was destructive in a lot of ways. That was years ago, but I can link all of those things together. And I'm a guy that did not grow up in the digital age, yet I was exposed to something that I wasn't ready for. I didn't have anybody who was giving me any sort of baseline to compare that to. So a combination of that early exposure plus the internet became a very toxic thing for my life.
I feel like a lot of porn does, show the woman as more submissive, and it kind of puts that idea, in boys' minds.
It just leads to guys objectifying women a lot, and then they forget about the whole relationship part, and that's all they think of now is just sex, because that's all they've seen.
I know we've been talking about a lot of guys are into pornography, but a lot of girls are too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't even think parents have the birds and the bees talk anymore, because kids will know about it by the time they're 8 if they have access to social media.
Yeah.
It's just honestly effed up.
But it's just faster now, and it's younger.
20% of youth report that they came across children, that it was unwanted.
But we can now be in different places, and we're in a group chat and somebody shares it. Everybody's got it if they open it.
And in the elementary schools that I'm in, I typically hear counselors saying, yeah, we've got kids that are already seeking it out in the elementary school age.
Sex is not something that is easy to talk about with your kid at any age, but it's something that you absolutely have to talk about, and at a younger age than you might think, because even if he couldn't access pornography on his personal device or through our home, cable, somebody on the bus probably could.
This mother proceeded to tell me her son was 11 years old, but when he was 9 years old, he went to sleep over at a friend's house, a family that they knew quite well. And this son, his friend, showed him pornography, hardcore, really horrible stuff on the iPad at this sleepover, and then proceeded to practice that pornography on her son. That was when he was 9 years old. Okay, fast forward 2 years. He's now 11. He's never told anybody about this. But mom has noticed that my son just isn't happy anymore. And she sat down and had a conversation with him and found out through this conversation that for 2 years he had held on to this secret. And then he felt so much shame and guilt that there was something wrong with him, that he did something wrong. And so for 2 years, he held on to this corrosive secret that started on an iPad. The number one common denominator of those who abuse other kids is an early exposure to pornography. Because what they see, they feel neurologically compelled to do.
Interesting about sleepovers, right? Now, we've talked to a lot of parents that think their kids are absolutely safe because they say, my kid never goes on a sleepover. They don't sleep over at anybody's house. Well, let me ask you a question. How long does it take for sexual abuse to happen? Does it take 8 hours? Does it take overnight? Does it have to be in the dark? No, not at all. It can happen just like this. And not only is it important to know about the families, right, of where your kids are going to spend time with, right, but get to know their friends too, because this is happening. Now, that's, when I was younger, we had, a kid from the neighborhood we went to school with, they'd get on the bus and they'd say, hey, check this out, look what I found, it's a Playboy magazine, and even when you hung out with the kids afterwards, they weren't thinking, hey, do you want to do what we were looking at? No, because it was a still image. It was a picture of a hot woman or something, right? But now, with the internet and no parental controls and no supervision, 9-year-old, he's getting shown it to him, and then he's getting abused by another kid and it does happen. The average age that a sexual predator starts abusing kids is actually 15, but now it's starting to get even younger than that, 13, 14 years old. So kids aren't just abused by adults, they're abused by older kids. And sometimes even kids their age, especially if it's unwanted, right? But this started with an iPad that had no parental controls on it. And this kid went on to hold on to that for a couple of years and then started feeling guilty and shameful about it, like something was wrong with him. That's how fast it can start, parents. That's how fast it can start.
I guess my first boyfriend was, I was college age when I had my first boyfriend. We would have hay rides or winter roasts, or it was more like just groups of people. Now, after you finished 4-H, they had what they call Real Youth, and that's how I met my husband. We would meet once a month and maybe have a dance, or a lot of it was square dancing, and everybody would bring food, and there were a lot of marriages. My friend Mary Lou and I both met our husbands through Real Youth, so that's how I met my Mr. Right.
Dating in 2020. How do dating relationships begin?
A guy says you're hot, pretty much. That's simple. So the guy will like add you on Snapchat, and then you might like say you like each other, but you know, of course it's over text, it's not face to face. Then you guys might have a thing, hooking up with each other when you like each other.
So you hook up before you are dating?
Yes. People don't really like go on dates. It's kind of you just like hang out, or like guys just use you. It's true, right?
We couldn't communicate in person because we like built the relationship online.
I had like the same experience, only after about 3 months, he asked for nudes, and when I said no, I don't send them, he dumped me.
For many young people, sexting could be considered the new first base.
Kids call it nudes, we call it sexting.
Yeah, no, everybody knows what it is. Everyone knows sexting is a thing.
My school, sending nudes is very common.
It's mainly between people who aren't actually dating.
Do you know of anyone who's been affected by that at all in your school?
Affected by sexting?
Yeah, like I've had an incident or a bad thing happen to them.
Well, yeah, like nudes of girls go around the school all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
We are seeing more and more young people that expect to jump right into sexual acts without the relationship portion before that, without getting to know each other, without going on that first date, without holding hands, without having that first kiss. They're jumping straight to send me nude photos, send me a video of you masturbating. And that's happening younger and younger.
But then 8th grade, there was like 2 different.
I want to point out that that's the desensitizing that's going on, right? And, you know, unfortunately, there's a lot of adults that do this too. A lot of adults now are just like, they meet somebody online, you know, or they only know them a week or two, and the next thing you know, they're in the sack, right? Because the delusion is that a healthy relationship or a bond is going to be built if you guys just have sex with each other, right? And that's exactly what the kids are being taught, right? The kids are being taught that, hey, you know, like the guy said, the new first base is sexting now. You know, hey, yeah, she sent me a nude. Oh, you got the first base. Yeah, for us, it was like, what, a hug, a little kiss, right? You know, and it's just changed now. And they expect a whole lot more in the way of sex than they do on trust and respect and getting to know each other. These kids don't know how to have relationships. And a lot of adults, unfortunately, don't know how to have relationships either. And the culture is just promoting that. I think about the movie Titanic. I don't know how many of you out there saw the movie Titanic. Probably everybody did. But that was a perfect example, right? You had this guy who's like poor, and he's basically sleeping on a park bench, and then all of a sudden he gets tickets to be on Titanic, and he's on the grandest ship in the world, and he sees this beautiful, rich woman, who appears to have everything, and the thought is, there's no chance that I could ever be with her. There's no chance that she'll even notice me, right? And it develops into a nice love story to the point of Jack's going to sacrifice himself in order to save her life, right? But what's the big thing that happened, ladies and gentlemen? What's the big thing that happened in that movie that made it look like they were so close? Well, they have about 3 minutes of dialogue, right? But you know what happened? Yeah, they ended up in the cargo hull of the ship having sex inside of an antique car, right? And kids see this. You meet somebody, and then it doesn't take long, and the next thing you know, you're having, passionate sex with them. And then the next thing you know, it looks like, oh, they love each other so much, and he changed her life, and he died for her. So they think that the sex is what creates that. And that was one of the most popular movies out there. But it's like that in all of them now. So the Hollywood is reinforcing this. Right? And think about that. When you have vulnerable children who have absentee parents, they're missing that parental bond in their life. And some male or female comes around and says, hey, I care about you. I want to have a friendship with you. I'll take care of you. I'll help you out, give you what you need. If that adult is a predator, right, and the child's been desensitized and demoralized already, and they think that they have to fool around with this person in order to have that relationship, you see the connection? And there's this thought out there that all sexual abuse is like physically forced and physical violence, but it's not. They groom these kids into what appears to be the kids wanting to do this. That's how the predators look at it. And a lot of them will do it because they think that's the only way to get love. It's a valid point that they're making here. Continue.
Groups, and it was like the group of people that did send nudes or did all these things, and then the group of girls that didn't do it. And there was just a very distinct, and it was 8th grade, and that's when it
I divided the groups was
honestly, yeah. And now my brother's in middle school, and I sometimes hear him, and then a bunch of kids I babysit in middle school, it's happening younger and younger. And
what age is that?
6th and 7th grade,
with sexting, while the studies typically focus on the ages of 12 and older, I've been in schools, elementary schools, where sexting has already occurred with 10 and 11-year-olds.
We have a lot of teachers and counselors come in, trying to discourage us from doing that type of thing. But obviously people don't listen. If you have a teacher or just someone telling you constantly not to do it, it makes you more just want to do it and to try it out.
Is that amount of communication needed before a boy feels comfortable asking somebody by text for a nude?
You're pretty much lucky if you get about 2 weeks into talking to them before they ask.
Or even sometimes they won't even just talk to you. They just
demand it.
Yeah.
Or send their own without us asking.
Yeah.
What about guys? Do they send nudes?
Yeah, they're disgusting. Who wants to see that? When you wake up,
I wish they would.
No, one time I was with a friend, and we were having a sleepover. Woke up, and good morning. It was 8 a.m. I was like, I don't need to see this.
They're more unsolicited. Most of my friends have gotten them, and
I feel for girls, for the most part, get disgusted by it.
What do you think percentage-wise of girls have received them?
High percentage.
probably more than half.
Yeah.
Do a lot of people you guys know send nudes? In middle school,
that was a huge thing.
Oh yeah, you guys had huge problems. Scandals.
Yeah, they're these rings almost. They got caught, and the police would get involved.
In middle school, that's the peak of which is totally messed up.
It's just so casual. Then when a girl does it, it's totally different and looked down upon, kind of.
Some girls I know, like, they just like won't say no because they're like scared of like the repercussions because they don't want to be yelled at or called a prude or like.
And you're constantly judged. Like, that's so true. Like, they're either like, oh, well, she's a slut and will do anything, or like, oh, she won't do anything with guys. And there's really like no in between.
It's a no-win situation. If you give it to a boy and then you're a slut, then the girls find out about it, then you're cyberbullied by the girls. If you don't give it, then some girls will even jump on the bandwagon. You know, I gave it to so-and-so. What's the problem? Why won't you do it? What do you do in that situation? Because you know you can't win.
I don't think people think it's a positive for doing that type of thing, but it definitely gives you a lot of clout. Like, you have a lot of attention on you, like good or bad. And so people definitely like want clout. They like do like almost anything just for people to like pay attention to them.
If the good girl sends Johnny something that she normally wouldn't, everyone's gonna be like, let's get more.
And then all the guys will go after her too.
Oh yeah, then she's got like 20 new ads on Snapchat, 3 new DMs.
But behind closed doors, people are like, she is a whore. And people act cool around her, but like behind closed doors, people hate her.
Let's say your daughter was dating a football player. She breaks up with him. She hasn't had sex with him, but he says, you need to give me a little something, something, some pictures, and then I'll stay in the relationship. So she does it. She gets pressured and she does it. And they break up. Well, I talk to kids all the time. What happens when you break up with those pictures? Let me take a step further. What happens when you break up with your boyfriend and his new girlfriend goes in his phone and finds your pictures? It gets distributed.
Especially with Snapchat, which was, kind of more or less created for that exact purpose. It gives people a sense of like, oh, it's not that serious. The pictures go away. But we all can realize now and look back and say, well, no, that's definitely not true.
Yeah, once something is out on the internet, social media will latch onto it. People will download it.
So it's like a Dropbox, and it was like, I guess some guy like went to our school, made it, and it's like just girls' nudes, just like just random people.
All the guys saved.
And you could, yeah, exactly. And there was like a list of like all the people that had accessed it, and like it was even like people that you wouldn't think really like good guys that you wouldn't think would like engage in that kind of stuff. But some girls had no idea that their pictures were like out in the open for everyone.
All of these naked pictures and videos guys get from girls they went to high school with, they're in their college dorm, they go on A9IB and they trade them like Yu-Gi-Oh cards.
This girl that I grew up with, she had a sex tape actually, and it was leaked. I remember even I, who didn't even go there, had access to it, but it was sent around, and we were freshmen.
One of my most hated
is sextortion. We've talked about that a lot on this show and on social media. Sextortion is leading to kids' deaths and kids unaliving themselves. And there's two separate things going on here. One side of it is the kids think they have to engage in this kind of sexting in order to get someone to like them or to get love. And then, of course, when those relationships don't work out, like they're talking about here, those pictures get sent all over the darn place, videos, pictures, which, again, the kids shouldn't be doing in the first place. And this comes back to parents teaching their kids right, teaching them the dangers, teaching them not to do all that stuff. And, again, that's part of the demoralizing. That these predators, and when I say predators, I mean online, I mean community, I mean Hollywood, I mean the music industry, cartoons, commercials, it's all just twisted. And if the parents are correcting what the kids are learning, and Marie made a great point earlier that if you don't have the talk with your kids, someone else is going to, and it's not going to be a healthy conversation. They're going to learn stuff that you're going to disagree with. And if your kids learn it first from someone else and start experimenting. Now, we're talking about kids with kids here, but this ties right into predators. You think a predator would rather try to be with a child who's never had anything to do with sex, or have a kid that's already hooked into doing it? So this ties exactly right into the predator's hands. And yeah, it's all around, and you're never going to protect your kids from it 100%. Because like they said, you get on the bus, someone shows it to you. They go over to a friend's house, someone can show it to them. They walk down the street with their friend and the friend brings it up on the phone. But you teach your kids, you raise them with good morals, you raise them right, and you say, you know what, this is not something that you want to be looking at or getting involved with. And if someone brings it up, that's it, you come home. And certainly if an adult or an older teenager starts showing it to you, tell this to your kids, you better run. Because why are they showing it to you? Why would they think that that was something you'd want to see? Well, they're testing you. They're testing the child to see if they'll be okay with it, to see if they want more. And we know exactly where that leads. This is why it's so important to educate your kids and talk to them frequently about this. And they might say, I know, you've told me this 100 times. Hey, listen, you tell your kids, you remind them, because every day presents something different. Different times in their life, different kids come into their lives, different people come around them. They always need to be reminded of the dangers that are out there.
The terms is not my kid.
Parents suffer from a disease called the NMK syndrome. It's described as not my kid.
My kid won't do that. My kid would never. My kid's friends aren't like that. My kid's school isn't like that. You're wrong. Everybody's community is like that. Every school is like that. Every kid has the potential to do any one of the things that we're talking about here. No, even my own kid.
About 60% of the youth who experience sextortion, when they're kind of blackmailed or forced to send images, threatened to send it, actually know their perpetrator. However, we also then about 40% met the person online and sent the image.
He chooses his innocent victim. This time, he will not fail. This time, he is sure.
So I grew up in the era of stranger danger. So it was really the media that taught me more about strangers.
Dangerous people, stranger danger.
If somebody tries to engage with you, run away.
There's always like a van.
A white van.
A dude in a van.
With no windows.
Don't ever get into a car.
He's going to promise you a puppy and some candy.
Yeah.
Don't fall for it.
We were told not to hitchhike because we would be kidnapped.
So in 1997, we had a guy come from Brentwood, Tennessee, drive up here to Naperville, met a 13-year-old corner of her block, took her to a hotel, raped her, let her go back home, and she told her parents that she met him on this thing called America Online.
Call now for America Online, a new way to use your computer to communicate.
My Instagram's kind of like a mix. Like, I would say half the people I know and half the people I don't know or like friends of friends.
3/4 of it is probably my friends from like school or acquaintances I know, not just random people off the internet. But there is, of course, that 1/4 that is random people I've never talked to or don't know looking at pictures of me.
When it comes to Tumblr, a lot of people like follow me for my stuff, and that's cool. I like to have them follow me, but also there's sometimes people that I don't know that follow me.
I friend a lot of people. I would just join games. He just friends random people. I would just join games for no reason and just go add friend.
Braxton does end up, I'll be in there and he's on the headphones playing Xbox and I'm like, who are you playing with? And he'll be like, I don't know, some kid.
Have you ever gotten creepy DMs from guys?
Yeah, all the time. Have you been solicited by any creeps online? Like,
Yeah. He was contacted by a stranger on Instagram.
Oh, like I saw your page and like I'm really like I'm interested in like sending you money for like in exchange for pictures.
I had people like DM me saying that I'm so beautiful and like he'll buy me whatever I want.
So we at BARC unfortunately detect issues around online child predation very frequently. Last year alone, we escalated 450 online child predators to law enforcement. And so we know that it's a common problem. Unfortunately, we think most parents underestimate the commonality of that problem.
We decided to go undercover as multiple children on social media and post innocuous content to see what would happen. We had to be very, intentional with everything we did. We had to create personas. They had to have believable date of births, and we had to know everything about the city that they lived in, and we had to create storylines, and we worked closely with law enforcement.
And basically just pushed go. We put everything live, and we documented what happened.
Within the first hour of posting on Libby's accounts, 7 adult men contacted her. By the end of 9 days, that number was 92. The conversations ranged in severity from making sexual comments to sharing and requesting explicit photos and videos to manipulation and threats.
We had to deploy an entire team, around the clock to responding, because the rate at which these messages came in was mind-boggling. And of course, when you're dealing with social media and the internet, it's a global thing. It's not just an East Coast thing or a US-based thing. There were men that wanted to talk to children for nefarious purposes at all hours of the day and night.
We tried it with younger personas as well, even an 11-year-old.
We launched our 11-year-old persona online.
It's 4:44 and go. One like from a guy whose profile photo is a penis.
So let's say 1 minute and 7 seconds. We have a message request.
Although two more requests just came in. How much time? A minute and 40 seconds?
Yeah.
How
old are you? You go to the profile, you know that is a child. It also says in the profile that the child is in 6th grade.
Another one.
It's just lighting up. Like the inbox is just boom, 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 boom.
An incoming video call in less than 5 minutes.
I can't see you. Don't be shy.
They all say don't be shy.
This happens to all types of children. This is not just kids who might be at risk. Oftentimes it's a child who's simply bored in their bedroom at night.
And I cannot tell you how many children I see in their bedrooms on live stream with tons of people just watching them, asking them to do certain things.
When parents allow their kids to have that device in their rooms at night, where are your parents? Can then come the grooming question. Where are your parents? Are you on an iPhone or are you on an iPad? What school are you? What are you wearing? Oh, your makeup looks so beautiful.
It's not uncommon for grooming behavior to include showing minors images of pornography to help them to think that.
Wow. And, if anybody's watched this live show and you follow our social media, and all our links are on our website, protectyourchildren.org, we have people, it's unbelievable how many screenshots we provided from Instagram alone. The amount of young kids that are on Instagram just going live, and all of these predators are commenting and saying all this stuff to them. And we're out there we're commenting on these profiles as we see them pop up. And it's like, hey, we're warning them. Hey, don't talk to these people. Be careful. There's sexual predators all over the place. They're going to compliment you. They're going to tell you they can help get you famous. They're going to, all these grooming lines, okay, which are actually lies, in order to get them kids to talk back to them. And it's absolutely horrifying. And like they said, it took them, a minute and 7 seconds before somebody popped right up. There's that many out there. They are all over the place. And I keep thinking about that analogy about the 4 magazines on the desk that the guy talked about. One of them is porn. And you're just leaving it out there for the kids and just hoping, just hope one day they won't pick it up. We just can't risk that anymore. Parents that allow their kids to have unfiltered access to the internet are looking for trouble. Now, I gather that most of y'all that are watching right now on Rumble and Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, you're probably already aware of this stuff. What I'm asking you to do is share this information, share this live stream after it's over, share our social media, let people know, so more people that might not be paying attention, that are not awake to this, can be educated and protect their kids. You've heard it said that it doesn't preach, do good preaching to the choir. The choir already knows the message, right? And this can incite our passions and get us more passionate about protecting kids, which is awesome. But the goal here is to wake people up and cause them to see that the danger is very real. That these kids are walking around with these portable devices everywhere they go, attached to their hip, for crying out loud. They've got fake profiles. They got 2 Instagram profiles, 2 TikTok profiles, one that mom and dad has, and they're friends with and follows them. And then they have the one that no one else knows about. And it's absolutely scary out there. And if you think it won't be my kid, I'm looking at some of the comments in the chat. I'm going to read this from Lisa Mans in the chat. She said, my 12-year-old admitted to seeing porn. We had a very open conversation about expectations and reality, along with the questions of who, what, when, where, etc. I did it back to back so they couldn't see my facial reactions and they could feel comfortable telling me the whole truth. That's a great idea. We had a very open and honest relationship. I've explained that being a teen is actually a lot of life learning experiences. It's frustrating for everyone involved. I've also told them this is where and when everyone makes mistakes. Your kids are going to make mistakes, but you've got to teach them what's out there so that they're aware. And if they make a mistake, that they can come to you. You're not going to scream at them. You're not going to ground them for life, but you're going to take it as an opportunity to teach them, warn them further about the dangers of where this might lead to, right? And then you trust them to go back out there again, but you stay nosy. You stay on your guard. You do random checks on their phones. You inquire about who they're hanging out with, what they're doing. We got parents out there that'll let kids be at a friend's house for 8 hours at a time. Why does your child have to be at someone's house for 8 hours? I mean, that just sends the wrong message too. If there's any predators anywhere in that house, they're thinking, well, the kids' parents clearly don't care about them. They could be gone this long. Don't they have a home? Don't people love them at home? Why do they want to get out of their house so much? They just love being over here at our house. Man, gotta educate them. Gotta educate the kids. Our website is protectyourchildren.org, protectyourchildren.org. We're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Rumble, Instagram, and TikTok. You can find us there, Protect Your Children, Inc. Protect Your Children, Inc. Jump back in.
That is normal. And then that can be a progression towards engaging them in sexual activity.
Do you want that? Do you want that as a parent? Strangers in your child's room while you're sleeping? Would you leave the door open with a sign that says, my daughter's bedroom is the second one on the left, and then go to bed?
We have traded a false sense of safety and security for actually putting our kids in riskier situations.
There are some that are just there for a quick fix. They want to see something, a body part or a live video, and then you might not hear from them again. But there are others, they use psychological strategies to methodically groom children by forming a friendship, by showing care. And then it escalates into more of a controlling relationship.
What do predators do with the pictures and videos they get from kids? They keep it or they trade it.
Last year alone, we received over 18 million reports of international and domestic online child sexual abuse. Between 2017 and 2018, video files reported to NCMEC increased 541%. We're seeing reports with graphic and violent sexual images of young children, including infants, and reports of on-demand sexual abuse known as live streaming.
Unfortunately, some of those were people who wanted to actually meet the child in person, which could have been just because they wanted to have sex with a minor. And sometimes we believed that it was because they might be part of a sex trafficking ring wanting to actually traffic the child.
It was a tough decision, but if Keith wanted to meet Libby in person, we would let him.
Oh, hi. Good, how are you? Nice to meet you too. I've never done anything like this before, so I'm a little nervous.
It's the first for everything.
Yeah.
Don't be. I'm not gonna rush you. We can just go upstairs and talk.
Are you okay with me being 15?
I've never done it. But it's okay.
The project has also resulted in numerous arrests, and that's great. Unfortunately, it's a drop in the bucket.
The average internet predator has 250 victims in their lifetime. One person has that many victims in their lifetime if they're not caught. So what happens in the law enforcement arena, that cops are not getting this technology training.
The problem is so big. I mean, we would need to employ so many more officers trained in dealing with this issue.
When you're a law enforcement professional and you're looking at more cases than you can ever possibly get to, unfortunately, a lot of those get triaged so low that they never actually get investigated. And so, unfortunately, that allows predators to keep doing exactly what they're doing without as much consequence.
I think about how I would have felt as a young, impressionable child. I would have kept the abuses to myself for fear of being shamed and blamed. I would have suffered with it secretly and quietly.
It's important really to never start that process, because as a child, once you're in it, it's very hard to get out of it. Very hard to come forward and tell your parent, this is what's happening to me.
Do you think your parents know that this happens?
Oh, no.
No.
I wouldn't be allowed to have a phone. Oh, if they knew what was going on, it would be stripped.
And so if you, as a parent or caregiver, can be an open, honest, soft place for your child to come and say, hey, look, everybody makes bad choices. I'm here for you, and we'll get through this together.
There's no bigger God's gift than a mother's intuition. When a mom knows something, feels something, there's something wrong with their kids. And God's given this to moms to protect their babies, whether the babies are 6 months old or 40, that never goes away. So I always tell moms to follow that, and it'll never lead them astray.
The best line of defense by far is to have active and engaged parents who understand what their child might be encountering online. Children, unfortunately, left to deal with this all on their own. And they're not, we're talking about 10, 11, 12, 13-year-old kids who are not equipped to deal with this in a vacuum. And so it really takes that guardian and parent support system.
And about a month or so ago, you can find all our podcasts on our website, protectyourchildren.org. We had a 14-year-old boy that we interviewed, and we first brought you the story when he was 13, and he had actually went online to look for adults and or kids to share videos and pictures with, and found them and got trapped. And thankfully, he got out of that. His parents figured out what was going on. Of course, they had to take away all the devices for a while, and the kid had counseling and stuff like that. And we brought him back for an interview about a year later, and he talked about what he had learned from it, why he jumped into it, what he was looking for. And this is something that parents have to realize, that 11, 12, 13, 14-year-old kids are going online, and they're looking to trade videos and pictures with people. And like the guy said, what do these predators do with those pictures and those videos? Well, one, we know they save them, they keep them, they trade them with their predator pervert friends. They might get them into the hands of traffickers, right? Who can then intercept your child, whether they're on their way to school or they're at baseball practice or some kind of sports complex somewhere, some field. Maybe they're watching them and they're waiting for them to walk away from the house so they can interact with them. This actually happens. Oh, the child says, I'm just looking for a quick feel good. I just wanted to see a picture. I just wanted to see a nude picture. And they think it's that innocent. But it's really dangerous. It's absolutely dangerous. This 14-year-old that we had on, one of the people that he had actually was communicating with and actually gave out his address to, turned out to be a convicted felon who had just gotten out of prison for kidnapping and raping 2 kids. I mean, what's the chance of that? And of course, the 14-year-old had no idea. And the plans were being made behind the scenes for this guy to come and meet the kid. That's absolutely horrifying. a family almost lost their child. And thankfully, God intervened. Whew. Alicia, welcome to the chat. Good to see you. Let's continue.
We always knew where our next meal was coming from. I don't want to say that, but there wasn't much money. And in that middle of that time, we'd had the tragedy. We lost my sister, older sister died of pneumonia. And talk about the good old days, but we didn't have the medical care back then that we have now. And then in the following February, my mother had my little sister, Carolina, and she had a heart defect and couldn't be saved. So my parents lost 2 children in less than a year.
The kind of things you did. And
Sure. Yeah. Jack is, I have 2 boys, John and Jack. Jack's younger of the 2. John's 21. Jack was 15. Jack was a very outgoing, typical teenager, 14 and 15, rambunctious, outgoing, very compassionate, pretty much an empathetic kid.
He was a really sensitive person. And I think that was one of his best attributes because he could tell when you were feeling down, and without even asking you or having a conversation with you, he just could pick that up. Total empath.
He was so kind to other kids. And I wonder if that sense of kindness made him more susceptible to feeling.
was there much talk of, did you remember there being suicides or anything like that?
Never. I never have heard that. We were worried. We were more worried about physical illnesses, but I don't remember there being a problem with suicide.
I've always liked technology, and I will say that it was hard to keep up with it, but I would stay up sometimes very late trying to figure out what my son was doing on his phone and figuring out how to use all the same apps that he used, so that I never got behind on that stuff. But, that's a really difficult thing to do. I knew that it was working because Jack told me one day, "Mom, I give up. You're too smart. I cannot keep up with you, and I'm just going to tell you everything now." And he did, except one thing.
Definitely the worst day of my life was getting that phone call from my parents.
He didn't do it on purpose, and he didn't do it to hurt us. He was just in a lot of pain.
Jack struggled for 9 days in the hospital. And then after about 6 weeks, we were able to crack his phone.
Someone said that there was, some stuff on sale at Home Depot that would help you basically off yourself. And other kids would just come right out and say, text, just go kill yourself. And then this is not uncommon. It's not the first kid that's had that happen to him.
Why did I not know what anxiety was, and why do you know?
I guess they've been a little bit better about.
But even then, they only made it known to us after 4 kids killed themselves.
That's true.
In Littleton alone, at the beginning of the year, there were multiple suicides before school even started.
At Children's Hospital, there is a new program for 10-year-olds and over, and they say, have you ever thought about killing yourself? Have you ever tried to hurt yourself? How do you feel about that?
So I work in one of the busiest pediatric emergency departments in the country.
At any given time, we can easily have 4 or 5, sometimes 6 patients who are there waiting for mental health evaluation or waiting to be transferred for inpatient treatment.
You hear from the CDC that suicide is the second leading cause of death in children ages 10 to 24.
Colorado, suicide is the number one cause of death for individuals 10 to 24.
And every day we send out, over a dozen imminent suicide alerts every single day.
It was such a rare occurrence to see that. Now it is commonplace. Has something changed about us biologically?
From 2000 and 2007, the suicide rate seemed virtually was pretty stable and had, if anything, some years fluctuated down. But then we saw a beginning trend, and it became evident over time that it was increasing from 2010 to 2017.
Not only teen suicide, but child suicide, like 10 or 9 years old.
I said, all right, sure, what do you got? He goes, well, Friday night, I had 2 10-year-olds on Snapchat. One thought it'd be a funny idea to talk the other one into committing suicide. And she did it. She's dead.
So 43% of 1.12 million children that presented to the ERs for suicidal ideation or suicide attempt were under 11 years old.
Whether these young adults think that they're not worth anything, I guess, I don't know, but people can't deal with things now.
But I feel like a lot of people in our generation are like way more sensitive than they should be. Like if one insignificance happens, it'll just trigger like every past thing that's happened in their life.
There's always a competition. Like with school, you're competing for the best rank. With social media, there's this unspoken, I guess, kind of competition for like most followers in a sense. If you're losing that competition, it hurts. Like it shows, you feel it in your heart.
Constantly comparing myself to others, constantly, wanting that thing or needing to be checking or not falling behind on notifications or whatever kinds of stresses are attached to that. But then you couple that with the fact that I just don't know how to deal with anything coming my way. And I just think at times for some kids, it's just a toxic combination.
Suicide is always the result of many factors. As we are not teaching kids as many skills to self-regulate and deal with difficult emotions, well, one thing that a device can be is a great way to distract.
Not being able to have my phone for a week would definitely, I would get really bored and I feel like I would be stressed out.
Typically when I get bored, I do pick up my phone.
I had people to talk to, but they got bored.
I don't know. It's just like something that I do when I'm bored.
Oftentimes it's a child who's simply bored.
Yeah, I'm pretty much bored.
And I get so bored.
Sometimes when I'm bored.
Because they were bored.
And they're bored.
Boredom.
He is so bored. My mindset's got worse and worse just because.
Sorry for the tech issue there. I hope you all can hear me now. What I was saying a minute ago was that we have to remind our kids, you have to remind them, not just saying I love you to them, but remind them of how important they are. Remind them that they have a purpose, that they have a plan, and that no matter what anybody says to them at school, or no matter how many followers they have or don't have, that's not indicative of their self-worth, that they're still important. And you got to randomly tell your kids this. Let it come out of nowhere. It'll really shock them. Out of nowhere, just say, hey, I just want to tell you something. You're really important to me. Right? Don't just stop with I love you, because kids go on autopilot. Yeah, I love you too. Remind them of how important they are, and that nobody can take away the worth that they have. You know, and it might just open up that door where they'll talk to you and say, this is what's going on. But you got to have that open line of communication. There's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes we get so wrapped up in the rat race that we forget to kind of tell our kids, hey, how, you know, you're really important to me. And you're really important to a lot of people. Your friends might give you a hard time, but there's people that still love you. To think that a 9-year-old or a 10-year-old or 11-year-old is unaliving themselves, it's unimaginable. And that there's people telling them to do it, that there's people online telling them where they can go get stuff to make sure they can do it. That is evil. That is evil to the core. And it's heartbreaking. Let's finish this up.
I felt so unproductive and I wasn't doing anything. And I felt like that's pretty common. You know, most kids are bored, cooped up, and feel unproductive.
At 12, here again, I was helping my dad. We're still milking cows. We were still raising hogs, carrying water. We still didn't have electricity. I had to have the tractor gassed up, everything hooked up and ready to go. I mowed their lawns, some housework for those folks. I didn't even know the word bored.
And if we continually interrupt that boredom with distraction with screens, I think that we are removing kids' abilities to deal with their own thoughts. And then that carries the risk then of being in a situation where parents are fixing everything. And you combine that with situations in high school where parents have fixed everything. I've not been taught how to deal with my own thoughts. Life is kind of hard. I have no idea what to do with this.
I think I'm still more afraid of the real world.
When the kids are outside, I don't give them freedom.
I really wasn't allowed to walk around the street.
Like, you know, we couldn't do that now. We couldn't just walk down the street
without worrying about being kidnapped.
There's not a lot of freedom when they go out in the front yard, or they can't ride their bikes by themselves to the park.
I couldn't ride my bike around my street. We were thrown out raped.
Yeah. I mean, that's just not really that safe.
But I get it from the parents' point because it's a safety thing too.
Out there in the real world where things really are scary.
Interesting that you guys think that, because what I'll tell you is that realistically, the physical world, meaning kidnappings and that kind of stuff, it's actually much safer now.
It's easy to become fearful of your child stepping foot outside. It seems like there's so much imminent risk with all these things. So it's more of an issue with one in the parent. And then for the kids, you know, it's hard to engage in a world where it seems like every day or every week or something, there is something horrible happening.
What makes you think that?
Yeah, I think it's because like it's so like populated in like the news and stuff. Like you hear all these like watching the news and like really just seeing all the dangers that are out there in the world.
Most of the bodies are still inside the school.
Well, Roz, they wore black trench coats.
Authorities have
Police say the 6-year-old died after a blow to the head. Some wore Nazi crosses.
And we're beginning to learn more about these teenagers.
Storms
Mothers of their share
NBC April 19th.
We basically thought he was dropping the whole volume of their movers. The Virginia Tech shooting still.
We live in a town, community of 300 million people with info of information that happens all the time. You actually kind of wonder, are my kids okay to play outside in the yard for an hour without me sitting there watching them?
And I'm thinking, man, when I was in 7th grade, I was going around my entire town.
on my bike.
We were told to get out of the house.
Hey man, you want to play? And
Ride my BMX bike.
Lived on my bike.
Play kick the can.
Built a zip line.
My friend was paper route.
When rang the doorbell.
You had the whole neighborhood.
And the street lights came
We
on.
just went off into the woods.
And had to be home when the lights came on.
The whole town was in an extended family of yours.
This is why am I nervous? This is so dumb. I've been conditioned by everybody around me that this is scary. This is not scary.
That anxiety is something we as parents have to really kind of do some self-examination with and understand, like wondering what part are we involved in terms of potentially transferring some of that anxiety towards our kids. They have to be allowed to fail. There's no way you can ever prevent pain, or anguish 100% of the time. And in fact, it might not be healthy.
Do you guys feel like teachers and adults and parents in general have kind of abandoned helping you through the social media thing in life?
It's also like we shield stuff from our parents too. So like they don't
Really
know.
sneaky.
Like I don't blame
That
them
is
for
so
not
true.
being able to help because we don't ask for help.
I definitely feel like us as kids kind of got put in a tough spot. In between two worlds.
This is all new for us as parents. This technology and this world has crept up on us, and there is so many of us who could do better.
Like my parents would be like heartbroken that like their kids have to go through this. Over half of tweens and close to 3/4 of teens experience issues regarding mental health. And then we get into cyberbullying, and that's over 3/4. Then we get to sexual content. And for tweens, it's around 70%. And then for teens, it gets even higher.
Our society is just become too isolated, just losing human touch. And there's no human touch to kind of heal the scar or the pain.
Why do you think all these like suicide and like depression rates are skyrocketing? It's because of social media, and nobody's doing anything about it.
We gave the stuff to ourselves because we wanted it. And now we get to watch it happen to our children.
Kids right now are going to experience the worst of what we're going through.
For most of the things that parents can't stand about technology, it's our fault.
I don't want to trade my influence for their access to a million different sources of influence that may not be credible.
Some parents say, I'm not going to do anything. I give up. It's too overwhelming. I just, I'm going to cross my fingers and hope that they do okay.
As a family, it is the one thing we fight about more than anything.
If I had the option to turn things back and give our kids of today a life without social media and smartphones, I would absolutely do it.
I would absolutely take away the internet from my kids.
Yes, I would have rather grown up without the internet.
I mean, I would do it immediately. Take it all away.
If social media was gone like completely and nobody had it, it'd be a positive.
I do long some for my children to know a bit more peace, a bit more calm, a bit more boredom.
You can't go back. You can't go back. I know we can't go back, but I wish we could make children realize that life is precious and it's a gift, and we need to really just really value it.
Do I wish that we could just throw all the technology away? I kind of do, honestly. But I know that that is not the solution.
I think we're going through a painful process of adaptation to something that's fundamentally changed our culture.
But the opportunities for these kids in this world are so much more vast. And yes, it's more complicated and it comes with its own set of worries and concerns. But if you take the control out of it and you focus on just trying to teach them how to be people in this world with all the things coming at them.
Technology is amazing.
I think it's a great thing as for human culture and stuff like that if we can control our consumption of it.
So new technology almost always comes with unintended consequences. We didn't have car crashes before we had the car, right? The car's a great invention, but unfortunately that resulted in car crashes. And so the answer was not stop driving cars. The answer was We invest in driver's education, and we add seatbelts and airbags and lane assist. And we're constantly looking for technological solutions and educational solutions to make that technology safer.
How do we keep our kids safe?
There's so much to that. I think what we need is a mass public awareness campaign so people understand what's going on. One thing I have learned is that if you tell people this is bad for you, they won't listen. If you tell people this is how you're being manipulated, no one wants to feel manipulated.
As parents, though, we decided we're going to become the experts. They need to start to see us as the experts rather than just everybody out there.
What's awesome is all these parents are, becoming innovators, and they're like, wow, there isn't this safety thing that we need, and so I'm going to invent it. There's so much more help now than there was 5 years ago.
And there are ways that it can benefit them hugely, but it's not going to benefit them, and they're not going to use it only for positive stuff unless we educate.
The best filter that your child will develop is the one between their ears. So having an adult they can go to that they trust is critical, and having an adult that's interested in and able to have the conversations with them is critical.
And they'll say, I want to talk to my parents, but they just don't get it. And maybe they don't, but they should try to get it, because once you crack the shell, oftentimes these kids are just dying to share.
The best thing that you can do for your child is make sure that they feel comfortable talking to you about these types of issues. And unfortunately, most parents are relatively ignorant about the types of things their children are experiencing online and aren't prepared to help them even if the issues do come up.
So you're my child. I love you. So if something goes sideways that we missed, I want you to know you have the open door, and we're not going to give you any consequences for coming to us, because you're going to make mistakes.
I want a kid to kind of once in a while go, oh, Mom, I already know that. Good. Just, honey, wanted to make sure. You know why? Because I love you so much. And I want you to know this thing, right? If a kid isn't to the point where they're just a little bit annoyed by you going there again, then you're not doing it enough.
At some point, they will be taking flight and they will be leaving our home in just a few short years. And I want to know that we gave them everything that we had.
I mean, that's the truth. Even my husband, who is he's not a very emotional guy. He will call me up in the middle of the day and be like, gosh, she's just amazing. She's an amazing soul.
I just so desperately want those young people to have other voices in their life, adults who will look at them and say, that's not who you are. That's not who I see. This will come and go. I see you. You're going to be okay. I love you. And they just need to hear that. We all need to hear that.
Whew. Bark parental controls. Any parental control app that helps you have more control over what's happening to your kids out there is worth it. And we strongly encourage parents to do that. Very powerful. Thank you again to Marie T, our director, for bringing that to my attention. Once we saw it, I knew it had to get on this live show. And thank you, everybody, for being here. We got a lot of work to do. And, Lisa kept making a point on here that we need better solutions. And she's absolutely correct. It's not only about the family unit that's falling apart, which leaves voids, which predators will fill. It's not only about the technology, where the companies aren't really doing crap to protect our kids. It's about that as well. It's about getting to know the neighbors and the people that are around your kids. It's about doing background checks. It's about being nosy. It's about parental controls. It's about having better relationships with our kids. Teaching them that there's no shame in making a mistake, right? But that there's solutions for them. That there's so many things that need to get done. The laws need to be stricter. But again, we can't sit back and expect everyone else to protect our kids. We saw that in the congressional hearing about a month or two ago. You know, when Senator Ted Cruz held up that screenshot of child material, we'll just say for the algorithm, that was on Facebook, on Instagram. And it actually warned the person. It said, what you're about to view might be child abuse material. And it gave them the opportunity to proceed or get resources. So the algorithm detected it, but wasn't going to remove it. So we can't expect everyone else to protect our kids. We have to do it. We have to encourage our friends and our neighbors and our coworkers that they need to do it. We're relying on everybody else. And you know what? There's plenty of predators and bad teachers and bad priests and bad pastors and bad coaches. And there's tons of people out there. Oh, they'll be willing to teach the kids. But you know what? If you taught them first and they understood and they're prepared, they're going to come back to you with what somebody said to them. And that's going to be the warning in which you can take action. That's our responsibility. Lisa says, exactly, we're all one big community. We all have to participate. We do. You know, a lot of eyes. Keeping the eyes open. That's what we need to do. I encourage everybody to please share this. The podcast will be available in about 10 or 15 minutes. We'll also be posting it on all our social media. And it's also available right back on YouTube, Rumble, wherever you're watching from. Please share. Please share, share, share. This is the way we get the word out. People need to be awakened from the slumber that they're in and realizing that we're losing our generation of kids. We're losing them to this social media, to the internet, to everything that's going on. And there's no replacing their lives. I mean, parents that just want to party and go have fun and not pay attention to their kids. What are they going to do when they wake up one day and their kid's gone? How good is that going to feel? Is that going to feel better than the partying? No. It's time to wake up and realize if you want to protect your children, you need to communicate with them. You need to teach them. You need to educate them. You have to stay educated and aware yourself and tell others. It's not exactly a water cooler conversation, but maybe we can make it that. Maybe we use our social medias to let people know, to even share this live stream and say, this is what we're dealing with. That's what we got to do. ProtectYourChildren.org is the website. ProtectYourChildren.org is the website. And we encourage you to go check that out. Really quick, I want to let you guys know that we do have a monthly newsletter that we're starting at the beginning of May. And this is to keep you informed. We will not spam you. We do not share your email information. We've had a whole bunch of people already subscribe. We're excited about that. It's another way for us to keep in touch with you. The newsletter is going to be packed with education and awareness and even links to our videos and all sorts of great stuff that you can use to stay informed with our organization, what we're doing, events that are taking place, ways that you can help out, all that good stuff. So if you want to head over to our website, protectyourchildren.org, click on the contact page, or you can do it right from the front page right here. Subscribe to our monthly protection newsletter. Click there and let us know, and we will add you to that list. And once again, if you can help us promote this content, we greatly appreciate it. We showed a stat about a month ago where we had posted a link to one of these live shows on Facebook, for example. And by the end of the week, it had about 80 views, maybe 90. Okay, well, let's say 100, just go on the outskirts of it, right? Say 100. Then we showed where somebody had donated $100, and we promoted a live stream on Facebook. And did you know that that got almost 30,000 views by the time it was done? 30,000. That's the difference that your donation makes. It pushes it out to tons and tons and tons of people. We can't afford to do that out of our own pockets. So if you can help us out with that today, we greatly appreciate it. All right, that's about it. Thank you guys for being here. I know it was kind of long tonight. Please share the podcast and stay nosy and keep protecting your kids. And God willing, we'll be back here next Wednesday, 9 p.m. with another live show. Thank you for being here, Anna. Thank you, Lisa, for being here. A lot of great information, Lisa. We're definitely going to connect. And Pam Shelton, didn't realize you were in the chat, but thank you. I'm glad that you're here as well. Marie, everybody else. James popped in for a little bit. Glad that you were here as well. Tracy and everybody else. You guys are wonderful. We appreciate you. It's really like one voice and one microphone can't reach a whole lot of people. But with all of you together, working together, we can reach a whole lot more and we can protect a lot more kids. And that is the goal. So thank you again for being here. And keep tabs on our social media. We post every day. And God willing, we'll see you back here next Wednesday, 9 p.m. This is Protect Your Children Incorporated with your host, Christopher Gelson. Thank you and God bless.